Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm starting off a reading vlog where I'm reading Underhyped Booktuber Faves, and how that feels a little bit specific, but I realised when I was looking at the books I'm planning to read this month that some of them fit into some quite nice themes. So I realised that 3 of the books that I have on my TBR are favourites of some of my favourite booktubers, and these are books that I don't really hear anyone else talking about, that these are their favourites, but they don't seem to be like favourites for the collective majority, or they haven't received that much like praise or love in general, that they seem very underhyped. So I thought it'd be fun to look at some booktubers' underhyped favourites. So the first one is Redemption in Indigo by Karen Lord. This is a Senegalese folktale, and this is a favourite of Angela from Literature Science Alliance. Then I have The Women's War by Jenna Glass, and this is a favourite of Jessie from The Bookish Mum. And I think this was more of a favourite when she'd just read this first book, and that actually her opinions on the series have slightly dwindled. That reading the rest of the series has made her feel a little bit confused over her feelings for it. But when she talked about this first book, she has described it as a favourite and absolutely raved about it. So The Women's War in for Jessie. And then I have Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier, which is the favourite of Jolene. I've also seen Sarah reads. This is one of her favourites as well. So there's a couple of people that really enjoy this. And this one I am buddy reading with Vish from Books with V and Sam from Tome Tower. So we have lots of plans for this book. I believe there is also a buddy read going on with Sarah, Jolene and Evie. So lots of people seem to be reading this month. So hopefully this won't be so underhyped for so long, but maybe it will have a burst of love on the internet, because I think this has been out for quite a few years now. I'm sure it's not actually that underhyped. I'm sure there's lots of people that have read this. It came out in 2000, so it's 22 years old. So these are the 3 books that I'm going to be reading for this vlog, trying out some underhyped favourites of some of my favourite booktubers and seeing how I feel about them, and if I agree with them, if I think these are also some of my favourites, and just my general thoughts on these. So I will check in once I've started reading these so I can voice my opinions and give you some more detailed thoughts on the actual plots of these books and some more details on what these are actually about. So yesterday I started the vlog saying that I was going to read Redemption in Indigo and Women's War and Daughter of the Forest for this video, which is still the plan. That's still the plan, except I then started Redemption in Indigo by Karen Lord, and I was going to check in at 50% or like at some point, but then I read the whole book. So now you're just getting my thoughts at the end of the book. I did do reading sprints last night, as of filming this, with Stephanie from Stephanie's Bookverse, Sarah from Sarah Reads, and Evie from She Was Only Evie. That's when I read this. I started it in the afternoon, and I was listening to the audiobook, and I would so recommend listening to the audiobook. So for the majority of this, I'd say for like the first 2/3, I listened to the audiobook and I was jigsaw puzzling. So maybe I'll just show a little clip now with the jigsaw puzzle. It's the Disney one. So I was listening to this whilst doing my jigsaw puzzle, and I went for a little walk and I was listening to this, and then so that got me to like the first 100 pages, and then when we started sprints I was on page 100, and then during the sprints I did some more jigsaw, and then I got a little bit tired of that, so I started immersion reading for the last quarter, until I finished it. I will say, I mean, it's 270 odd pages, and the text is it's a pretty large font, and so it's quite easy to get through. It's not like one of those books which has really small font and lots of words per page. But I very rarely read a book in a day. Very, very rarely, especially considering like I was reading another book in the morning. Like I'd already read 100 pages yesterday before I started this, so massive day of reading. Don't know how that happened. Oh, maybe I need to do some sprints more often, because obviously when I sprint I really read. Thoughts on this: I really liked the audiobook. It's narrated by Robin Miles, and I think it was really well done. I think for this story, and this story feels it's inspired from a Senegalese folktale. I completely got that vibe from it, and I think this story leans so well into being narrated to you. I could just imagine being around a campfire and having someone telling me this story. And so I just really enjoyed that experience of this story being narrated to me. I really I think it was just the perfect way to enjoy this story. For me in the UK, the audiobook is on Scribd, so if you're interested in it, and I think it was a really well done narration, and it completely added to my experience. What I did find quite funny is that the blurb on here is, "This is one of those literary works of which it can be said that not a word should be changed." Now, you say that, but there are some changes between the audiobook and the book, which I didn't notice until like when I was sat down to read alongside. And they're really not big changes. Like really, it's not like a big deal. It's not like there were paragraphs missing. It was literally like, they used the word "it seemed like," and in the narration it said "it looked like." I can't remember what way around, but seemed and looked seemed to be interchangeable between the two. That one I noted quite a few times. And sometimes there'd be like someone was speaking and then there'd be "he exclaimed" or something. And one way or another, the "he exclaimed" bit would be in a different place. So it's still the same words, but they were just in a different order, which it's just fine, absolutely fine. But I just find it really funny when combined with this. You're like, well, obviously the publishers decided to do some changes between the US, UK audiobook, physical book, because there were a couple of things, but really minor things. But I found it really funny. But that may just be me. I will say, I wasn't too comfortable with the way one of the characters, Ansige, is portrayed. So he eats. And the thing with him is that he constantly eats, and he always wants to be eating and is continuously looking for food. I don't know, because I don't struggle with food. I enjoy food, but I don't have an unhealthy relationship with it, however much I love chocolate. But I think if you are reading this and you do struggle with food, and you do have a relationship where you struggle with it, whatever side that relationship is, I think that you may struggle with this. I haven't looked into it. I haven't looked into other people's reviews of this to see what other people say about it, because I think your perception of this character does change as the story goes on, from the beginning to the end, that there is a different perception of them and why they are so gluttonous. But I don't know. Overall, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed it. There is no Peter Pan in it though. Where was Peter Pan? Where was Neverland? But overall, no, I really enjoyed this. I found it a very fun, enjoyable story. Really just really well paced. Like, obviously I read it in a day. I think it flowed. Everything flowed. So I would recommend this. Thank you, Angela, for really pushing this and really telling us to read this. And because I would agree, I think this was a very good recommendation, Angela. So we're kicking this vlog off with a success. Thank you, Angela, for this recommendation. And I do think that this should receive some more hype. And I think as well, if you like Gods of Jade and Shadow, I would definitely compare the two. I get similar vibes from Gods of Jade and Shadow as I do from this. I mean, they're both inspired by different cultures. That Gods of Jade and Shadow is much, I think that's Mexican Incan inspired, and set during the Jazz Age in Mexico. And this is Senegalese. So they're very different cultures, but I feel like I got a similar vibe from them both. If you've read them both, let me know if you agree with that comparison. But these are my thoughts on this.
I'd run forever and again.
Hello friends, so it has been quite a while since I updated this vlog of reading some underhyped booktube faves, and I may have finished some things since I updated you, but here we are. So it may be more review style than actual vlog style because I'm now just pretty much reviewing what I've read instead of updating as I read. So, but this is what you've got. This is what it is, because I can't pretend that I'm only 50% of the way through a book when I've finished it. So since updating, I've had a lovely time. So I've got some footage of some things that I've done outside of reading. So my cousin came to visit, we went up to Cambridge and did some things around London, so that was lovely. That was last weekend, and then we went to Portugal for a few days, which was really lovely, and lovely just doing a little like city break and seeing Portugal. I've never been to Lisbon or Sintra, which is like one of these really pretty places outside of Lisbon. So we did that, and actually I felt like I channeled my book and my city break, like the vibes were very appropriate, because I was reading Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Murillo when I was there, and some of the like scenes or like places that we went to just really matched up with the scenes in the book. So I was like, oh, I'm just living my best Daughter of the Forest life. We were in this foresty setting, and there were these lakes, and I was like, 7 waters, I'm at 5 lakes, so you know, it's very similar vibes, and it was very like foggy and not the foggy misty, so I just felt like the vibes were there. It was the perfect vibes, they matched up. So I loved this, like absolutely loved this. I just devoured it. I absolutely devoured it. And the thing is, this is like a 400-page book, but it's like 400 pages going on like 700 pages because it's large and there's like a lot of words per page and the chapters are very long. So this was a buddy read with me, Sam and Vish, and I think we all absolutely loved it. We are actually all going to be doing a discussion with Evie, Jolene and Sarah on this book on Evie's channel, I believe on the 2nd of April at 1 p.m. UK time, because they all love it as well. And it was them, well, it was Jolene's and Sarah's book as my like underhyped booktubers fave for them, and I think Evie recently read it and absolutely loved it, and I can see why. This was such a success. And to go from Green Rider, which I felt was just like plot, and then this happened and this happened, and was very just action, and this was like a lot of exposition. Like that book had no exposition and this had a lot, so they were quite different, even though they're both written I think around similar times. But oh my god, I just loved it. I was hooked. I wanted to know what was going to happen to these characters, even though this is based off like a retelling of the Six Swans, I think it's called. So in the first bit you really know where it's heading because it says it on the back. In some ways I feel like it's a bit of a spoiler, because for the first 100 or so pages, which is when I felt like we were getting a lot of exposition, I was like, oh, where are we going with this? Like, this is a lot of world building, character development, and we're not really getting much like plot or dialogue. Maybe because I knew where it was headed, but in the end it really worked out. Like all the exposition, there was a purpose for it. It was so good. It was so good. I loved the characters. I loved like the way it was told. I loved the writing style, I loved the characters, I loved the setting. I mean, I felt like I was there because I was there, but not. And I just was really hooked by this, and I think we all just swept away by this tale. It was so good. It was just magical. It was magical. I don't think it will work for everyone. It's quite romantic and it's quite slow in places, but I just wanted to know what was going to happen to these characters, and I just felt for them. I really felt for them. I was like, oh, what's going to happen to you? So absolutely love this. I will say trigger warnings for sexual assault, and it is on page, and it was not pleasant to read. So if that is something that you are not comfortable with reading, then I would be hesitant picking this up, and I think you should go in prepared. I was not prepared for that scene, and I was like, okay, yeah, it was pretty, I mean, it wasn't like graphic, but it was pretty brutal still to read, and I think she dealt with it well, but it was not pleasant to read, not pleasant at all. So I absolutely love this. We'll definitely be continuing on with the series. I was actually looking to buy book 2 today, and I cannot find the book 2 in this edition anywhere. I've checked Amazon, Book Depository, Blackwell's, eBay. No. Book 2 in this edition is just missing here in the UK. It is just not available anywhere. I'm like, there it is on the back. Book 3, yeah, I can find book 3 on Amazon. Everywhere has book 3, but not book 2. Book 2 is just not available. So I'm gonna have to do some like sleuthing around to try and find book 2 somehow or other, or like get the ebook and then buy a copy when it eventually becomes available. I don't know what's happened to it, but book 2 is just gonna be a challenge. It's gonna be like Words of Radiance take 2, trying to find that book. So anyway, I really enjoyed this. I would definitely recommend it if you're interested in picking it up. I'm gutted, well not gutted, I am annoyed with myself that it took me so long to read this because I thoroughly enjoyed this. So thank you to everyone that recommended this. And then I have actually started my third book for this vlog, the third and final book, and that is The Women's War by Jenna Glass. This is probably like a 50% check-in because that's pretty much bang where I am, which is probably more appropriate for a vlog. I'm 50% into a book. And this was for Jessie at the Bookish Mum because this is one of her favourites. I think she has like really positive thoughts about this first book and then less so about the second and third one. And I guess, well, I don't know how I feel about the second and third one yet, but I'm actually really enjoying this. I was a bit hesitant going into it. I was unsure how I was going to feel about it, especially after the high of Daughter of the Forest, which I loved, for a book to follow up on that. And I mean, I'm not loving this as much as Daughter of the Forest, but I mean, that's going to be a challenge. But actually, I think maybe because my expectations weren't that high, I'm really enjoying this. I'm really liking it. It's really solid. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. The Women's War. You're set in this world where women don't really have much autonomy or much power, that they are looked down upon by the men of the world. The men have all the power. And at the beginning of the book, the situation changes and women are granted a bit more power and a bit more magic, because there is magic in this. Yeah, it's like a revolutionary spell or revolutionary magic that has been the catalyst for the rest of the plot of this book. And so you're following various characters. You are following Elise, who is the illegitimate daughter of the king of one of the kingdoms, empires that we're following, and you're following her and her family. And then you're also following Ellen, who has suddenly become the ruler of a neighbouring country after all of her family has perished. So you're following her, and I mean, I'm really enjoying the like political machinations that are going on with this, because there is a lot of politics, there's a lot of dynamics that are going on within the courts and the way that these women are trying to manage these politics within a world that is predominantly ruled by men, and them trying to forge their own path through this. So I'm really liking that, and I'm really enjoying following their paths and the politics within this world. Again, this has some quite brutal scenes towards women, because some of the men are not pleasant and not nice, and you would not want to ever come across them. Yeah, I am again really enjoying this. I'm finding the writing style quite like addictive, compulsively readable. Like I want to keep turning the pages, I want to know what's going to be happening next. I'm enjoying the exploration of the magic. I don't feel like we've had like that much information on it just yet. Like we're getting tidbits and we're getting more. It's becoming more and more information is being given to us as the story goes on, but I am enjoying that aspect and learning more about that, and learning about like the women's magic, the men's magic, the neutral magic, and learning about all of that, and sort of how this magic comes to be and the different powers within this world. So yeah, I'm definitely intrigued to see where this goes, and so far so good. So I will see, I'll check in obviously once I finish this book. I'm planning to hopefully read a lot of it today, but we shall see. But so far actually, yeah, really positive thoughts on this, and that's really positive for this whole vlog, because everything has been positive. Like I haven't had a bad recommendation, because I really enjoyed Redemption and Indigo. I absolutely loved Daughter of the Forest. I'm now really enjoying this, so I should be trusting these underhyped faves, I think.
Let me in on your cruel game and show me how to play. You do it better, but I'll give it a shot anyway. Even if it's hell to pay, promise I won't run away. You do it better, but I'll give it a shot anyway.
Hello. So So I thought I would just wrap up this vlog and wrap up my thoughts on the Women's War, because I have now just finished this. I'm very tired. I cycled into the office today, so it was like 30 kilometres, so 15 kilometres each way. So sorry if my brain's not quite with it, but I need to get my thoughts out now so I can get this video up of the Women's War. So I really liked this. My expectations going into this were they weren't low, but I didn't know how I was going to feel about it. And I really enjoyed this. I really liked this, especially as well because I'd just finished Daughter of the Forest going into this, that I was going in with like having just read a 5-star book, and it's always hard to follow up a 5-star book because what can really follow it up, because everything you're going to read after it's going to be a disappointment. So, but actually I really enjoyed this. This really like surpassed my expectations for it, and I found it really fun and engaging. The writing was compulsively readable. Like I was invested in all of our characters and the world and the magic and the political intrigue. It's very politics heavy, but I loved the politics. I was like eating up all the politics. So you're set in this world where women have, I think I mentioned this in my previous clip, that women have no power and no agency really, and that they're in this world where men rule. But actually, following some circumstances, it's ended up that women are claiming more agency over both their bodies and as well in the political spheres as well. And I think this was really well paced. I think it was really well written. I enjoyed all of our characters and getting to explore them and their dynamics with the characters. The politics, this is very politics, very much fantasy politics machinations. These people trying to maneuver around, political maneuverings, dealing with various countries and the different countries' political climates. And I really, really liked that. I think it was very well done in that sense. I have a few critiques with it, and part of me is like, is it okay? I'll try and phrase them. So this world seems to be very heterosexual normative, and I don't know, like it's a modern publication. And not every book is going to be diverse, because it isn't. This is very feminist in some ways. It says that it's the epic feminist fantasy for the Me Too movement. It does really focus on women in a patriarchal society and the uprising of these women. But it's very heterosexual, I'd say. Like the magic system in this is that you have different elements that you can imbue into something to create spells out of these different elements within the air, or maybe not even within the air, in a different sphere to what you can see normally. And there are some elements which are for men, that men can generally see, some that are for women, and some that are neutral. And so men and women can potentially see some of the other genders ones, but the elements you see are generally based on your gender. But it does make me wonder, what happens for transgender people in this world? Would transgender people exist in this society? And the thing is, they must do, because in a repressive society, it is quite a mod. Is it, how modern a concept is it? It's not something that I've ever really looked into. But in this society, men aren't going to want to be women, because women have no agency, no power, no control over their lives and their bodies. And women would want to be men if they could, potentially, because men have all the power. But if everyone knows that you were born a woman, you're not going to have any agency to choose that. So the society doesn't really create that level of movement or that level of flexibility, that level of choice of your gender. Or is the magic system just based purely on your biology? It's just, questions that I have, and I don't know if that's going to get explored in the later books in the series, but in this one it's very male-female, and it doesn't really address that other dynamic to it. It was just something that got me thinking, if you how that magic system really works when you put gender into the mix. But overall, I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I think it was a solid book. It was a solid book, and I'm definitely going to be continuing on with the series. I'm really intrigued to see where it goes next. I know Jessie, as a bookish mum, said that the first book was her favourite in this series, and that the second and third one weren't as strong. So I am interested to see how I feel about the second and third one, and see how the series how I feel about the series as a whole. I think I'm going to try and read them pretty quickly. I read this one pretty quickly. I mean, it was this is my 550 to 580 page book, so they are pretty long, but I found this one was pretty quick to read, and I found it pretty digestible. I was always compelled to keep reading it, and it was a fast read. So hopefully the other two books in the series are written in a similar style and have similar pacing. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this. Okay, so now wrapping up my thoughts on all three books and how I feel this vlog went. So I think this vlog was an absolute success. It really was an absolute success because I had 1 5-star and 2 4-stars. I really thoroughly enjoyed everything that I read for this video. Everything, all of these, amazing. So I think this was a real success, and I'm so happy that I read all of these. Redemption in Indigo was a standalone, so I can't continue in that series, but I'm definitely going to be continuing in The Women's War and Daughter of the Forest. Those are definitely going to be continued in, and I'm really, really excited to continue in them and explore these worlds a bit more. So I would definitely recommend all 3 of these books if you have not read them, and if you are at all interested in them, I would recommend them. I will try and link, for the booktubers that recommended these, their channels will be linked down below, and if they have any videos talking about these books as well, I will link them, so if you're interested in hearing their thoughts on these. But overall, a really, really, really great success here. Really great success. I'm so happy. It's always such a pleasure when you end up reading books that you enjoy, especially ones that are recommended to you by other booktubers and that are underhyped. And I think these all deserve some more love. So if you're interested in these, hopefully I persuaded you to check all these books out, and you'll now be giving them a go, because I think the books deserve it. So there we go. I hope you have enjoyed hearing my thoughts on these and seeing a little bit of my life over the past couple of weeks and what I've been up to. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!